So today's video is a very much requested video of how I do my liquid liner, or my wing liner I should say. Some of you have asked to see how I do my tiny little baby wings. Some of you guys want to see how I do a full-on wing, and just keep in mind that what I'm showing you is a technique that works for me. It may not necessarily work for you, but I hope that if you give it a try, hopefully it does work for you. And again, this is just the preference for me as far as how I like to apply it, how I like to do my liner as far as the thickness and the extent of the wing. I don't like to have my wing coming out too far. You know, I just don't like that, and that's just my personal preference. And if you do, you can use the same tips and just sort of exaggerate the line a little bit more, make it thicker on the inner part, or just, you know, keep it like I do it in this video. So it's up to you what you want to do and what you feel comfortable. Before I show you how to do it, I want to kind of talk to you guys about some of my favorite products that makes this process pretty easy for me. Liquid liner can be easy for some people, but for others it's a challenge simply because one will come out just perfect and you're just like, yes, but then you try to do the other eye to match and it's just a hot mess. It's thicker, it's thinner, you try to fix and balance both of them and then you end up ruining it. I've been there, and it happens more often than not for me. So having some little Q-tips like this, these are ones that have a bit of a point and a paddle style on one side. These are very good because you can use some makeup remover to kind of perfect your lines, and I will show you that in this video as well. So don't feel like if you didn't get it thick, or you know, that sharp, crisp, smooth line on the bottom part of the wing, you can always fix it. Don't feel like because that didn't happen the first time that, you know, you suck at this. You know, it takes time, but using a makeup remover and this little Q-tip here, you can get a really sharp line that is very sort of perfected. You can manipulate the line with some makeup remover to fix any mistakes. So keep that in mind. Don't freak out, it's fixable. Okay, so there are some different types of liquid liners out there in the market. There's some that are just regular that come off with water. There's some that are waterproof, water resistant. Go with whatever you feel is what you need. Like for me, I'm okay with using regular liquid liner that comes off pretty easy with water. I don't mind using waterproof or water resistant. Some people have to use water resistant or waterproof ones because their eyes water too much, or nothing seems to stay and everything transfers to the upper crease area. Whatever is your need, there is a liner out there for you. You just have to kind of play around and see which ones work for you. It's all trial and error. But for me, I prefer liquid liner pens. Why? Because it makes it so much easier. A couple of my favorite ones, right now I'm using the CoverGirl Intensify Me one. I think it's good. I just think that this can give you a bit of a thicker line too fast. If you are trying to do something thin, I would stay away from this one. There's one from Maybelline. It's like the Master Drama one. It's a black one that I love. It's got a felt tip, which I adore felt tip liners. This one is a felt tip, and I feel like it just glides very nicely. But this one, because of the paddle style, it's going to give you a little bit of a thicker line. It's one that's meant to be thin to thick, depending on your preference. So I don't have the Maybelline one to show you. If I did, I would be using that in this video. A couple high-end ones that I like is the Kat Von D liner, tattoo liner in Trooper. They do have a brown one if you want something a little less dramatic, but because black is pretty intense. But the tattoo liners are really great. Those are from Sephora. I love the LORAC Front of the Line Pro. It's in like a nice sleek gunmetal packaging. You can get this on the LORAC website and also through Ulta stores or Ulta.com. But this one is a felt tip, but a nice sort of gradual point, and I feel like this helps when you're doing liquid liner. It's just a very smooth line that you can do with this. And the great thing about this one from LORAC and from Kat Von D is that the bristles, they don't fray and they don't look all crazy and wonky like some other cheaper ones do. And if that happens with the tip of your applicator, it's going to make your line not perfect, you know, and it's not going to be smooth. So make sure that you get one that has a nice sort of like well-built tip on it. So those would be the ones that I would recommend. A couple other ones, you can find some that are like this. This is just one from Makeup Revolution, but it's not a unique concept because you can find these anywhere. Heck, I think Revlon even sells one. It's like an inkwell. You take the little applicator out. This is good for those who have experience. If you are a beginner, there's too much product on the tip of this. It's too liquidy and too runny. So if you're putting it down to get like a thin line and you maybe lay it too flat, flush against the eye, it's going to make a thick line or leave a blob of product. So this is something that I don't prefer to use simply because I don't want to have to go in and remove everything because I've messed it up. So these are very tricky to work with, and so are the ones that are like this. This is more of like a tube style, but this is the NYC eyeliner, liquid liner. I think this is just a couple bucks, so if you wanted to practice with something like this would be great. But this does have a brush tip, very thin, but again, there's a lot of product on here. Whereas the liner pens, they're cleaner and they're just easier to work with, in my opinion. Now, the same technique that I'm showing you here with the liquid liner, I do with the gel liner or cream liners. The one that I like in black is from Maybelline. It's like $8. I like this so much better than my Bobbi Brown gel liner. I think the Bobbi Brown one is not worth the money. This is very smooth, very creamy, and very, very intense in color. So the Maybelline Eye Studio gel liner in Blackest Black is one I would recommend. You can try different brands, but that's just what works for me. And I will be tight lining with the L'Oreal Voluminous Smoldering Eyeliner, which you've seen before. So those are just some of my favorite go-to black liquid liners. And of course, you can find these same sort of designed liners in different colors and brown if that's what you wanted, but I'm going to show you in black because it's what I wear the most often. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the tutorial. Alright, so for today I'm going to use the Kat Von D Tattoo Liner in Trooper. This is just the black one. If you want, they do have it in brown as well. But I'm just using this because this is one of my favorite liners. I feel like it helps make everything smooth. It just glides on very easily. So we're going to see. I think I've got enough in here to make this work today. So for this, I've already applied my shadows. I'm just using a couple of the matte colors from the Makeup Revolution Ultra Matte Flawless Matte, palette, and that's all I've got on my eyes today, so that you guys can see this a little bit better than having a bunch of stuff. Okay, so I've kind of given it a good shake here so that a lot of the stuff comes down, like the pigment comes down to the tip of it. And what I like to do for this is, firstly, I like to take my time. This is not something that you should be rushing to do, especially if you're trying to learn how to do this, because it's very easy to make a mistake. And then you would have to go in and use a Q-tip to clean up your edges and your lines. You may remove some of your shadows. You may mess up, you know, your concealer, whatever. Concealer can be fixed, but after you've done your smoky eye and you're going too fast because you're rushing, it can get messy. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's go in. I've got a I got a mirror handy just in case I need to get a little closer. One thing that is helpful is if you can, you know, look down into a mirror or tilt your head back. That way you can see where you're applying the line. It makes it easier. You do whatever works for you, or as you perfect this in practice, you will figure out what works. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to just lay the liquid liner pen just very like flush to the lash line. I don't come in at an angle. I don't do anything crazy. And I just do thin strokes, thin lines. I don't try to do one swoop because that's the easiest way to mess this up. It does take some time to kind of perfect this, and I do have my pinky slightly rested on the tops of my cheekbone because I do have shaky hands. If you need to, rest your elbow onto a flat surface like your makeup vanity, your kitchen sink, if you're doing it in the kitchen, if you're doing it in the bathroom, your bathroom, whatever. So little strokes like this, and I do have my head tilted back. Why I like this pen liner so much is because I can use the tip of it to really kind of get in there and really wiggle this in between my lashes. That's the whole point. You want the skin around the waterline to be nice and black so that it looks like it's a rich, thick line and that you have, you know, luscious, thick lashes. So come in here and just tilt your head back. I like to tilt my head to the side a bit to get right in this inner corner because I do want this inner corner to be as thin as possible. I don't want to do it too thick. If you have really thick line in the inner part, it's going to close off the eye. So keep the thickness on the outer part of the eye. It gives you that sort of like lifted look to the eye. You can use like the point of it to kind of taper that line into your root of the lash so that it doesn't look like you just stopped halfway. As you can see, hopefully you can tell, it's not a perfected straight line, it's kind of bumpy, but we're going to fix it. And I'm going to put the cap back on and kind of give it a good shake. So this is exactly what I would do if I was going to do the liner just like this. This is as thick as I feel I like to wear. I don't go crazy with the liner unless I feel like it for a specific look. But I would do the same technique that I just showed you now with gel liner, with cream liners, even with a powder shadow. So I'm going to show you how to do my little baby wings. So I'm going to give this a good shake. And for this, I do feel like it's a good idea to kind of turn your face to the side so that you can really see, because as you can probably tell, there's a little bit of my skin that I did not put liner on. So when you want to do your wing, you want to make sure that you kind of come up from that part there, but you want to have everything kind of covered, if that makes sense. So I'm going to pull this line down just a little bit more, like so. Okay, so then for my wing, this is the most important part. It's going to be hard for you to get both eyes to be perfectly exact. You may have to go in and clean it, or you may just get it and it may just be something very easy for you to do. For me, what I like to do is looking straight into a mirror. I like to kind of come up with the point and just kind of do little flicks lightly. I'm not trying to do a really saturated line there, because if I make a mistake, I can easily clean up very thin strokes versus a thick solid line of liner. It'll get kind of messy. So I'm going to do some little strokes. And when you're doing this part right here, what you want to do is imagine that there's a line coming from the outer corner of your eye connecting to the outer point of your brow. So if you were to connect it, if you were to use, I don't know, some sort of like object like this, you basically want this to be where you kind of have, your wing. You may be able to see I have a tiny little flick going on there. And then now that I feel like I'm happy with the little baby flick, I'm going to kind of press a little bit harder to intensify that line. And then I'm going to bring it back on itself. So from the point, coming down, trying to connect it to the line that we did earlier. And you just have to kind of fill in that little spot, and that gives you just a very subtle little baby wing. Alright, so now as you can see, I've kind of made a little mistake here. My liner kind of skipped, again, because I think I'm running low on that. So what I'm going to do is take these little Q-tips. It looks like this. It's got a paddle on one side and a point. I've dipped the point into a little bit of makeup remover, and it's as if it never even happened. Now, a lot of the times, some of you have commented that my liner is really sharp. When I do gel liner or even an exaggerated wing with my liquid liner and I get, messy with it, I use the same little Q-tip, and I just kind of lay it here with some makeup remover, and then I just sort of pull, and that's going to give me that sharp, crisp line. And that's how I get my liner to look really, precise. And I don't put tape on there very often. I do that occasionally, but this right here is what I would do for an everyday look. It's very simple. It gives me a little bit of openness, but it's not super dramatic. And I'm going to switch to my LORAC pen because my Kat Von D, I feel like it's kind of starting to skip, so I think it's on its last little leg. Okay, so for me to take this and make it a little bit more dramatic and come out just a little bit. Now keep in mind, for my personal preference, I don't like my wing to be all the way out here. I don't want to touch my temples with it. If that's what you like, go for it. I personally don't feel comfortable wearing that, so I'm going to just show you how I go from this to just a little bit more dramatic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by working the underside, and I'm going to start thickening that up. And as you can see, that's going to start kind of pulling it and making it a little bit more thick. So there is a little bit more of a point. Now we need to fill it in because you can see when I close my eyes, it doesn't look that great. So what I'm going to do is, like I did before, when you want to create your cat eye, you come from your point and you drag it back onto the line that you did. You can do thin strokes. If you're comfortable, do one quick fell swoop and you should be able to fill in the little gaps. And then if you need to, again, put your pen or your brush, liner, whatever, flush to the eye. Do thin baby strokes to thicken the line gradually. And then there is the more thicker line. So it's super thick here, and basically what you want is thick on this outer portion, and as it's moving towards the inner part, taper down to nothingness so that the eye still remains open You don't want it to be closed off, because really thick, sort of like a graphic liner, will close off your eyes, and especially if you have small eyes to begin with, you don't want it to be too thick. But, you know, it's, again, personal preference. So, alright, sorry, my eye is kind of watering. I felt like I had something in my eye. So, let's say I wanted to perfect this. I feel like it's not bad looking. I could get away with it by not cleaning it, but I'm going to just dip this little tip into some makeup remover. Again, I'm going to put it, the tip of it, right on the outer part of the wing, and then just slowly pull up. And if you have anything that you made a mistake, you will see little bits of black, where you can come in with the other side and kind of just do one of these numbers and take off any little black liner like smears that you've done, because it's going to, if I did it too thick, it's going to, okay, so maybe there you can see there's a little bit of a smear right in this area here. You can take the other side and just kind of clean that up. Alright, so now to finish everything, before I apply my mascara, I'm going to take a black eyeliner. You want something that is very sort of creamy and very fluid, that doesn't pull or tug or skip on the waterline, because that's a very sensitive like area around the eye. And you want to kind of do a little bit of tight lining. What that's going to do is fill in any little gaps on your tight line that you can still maybe see between the liner and your lash. And the one that I'm using, if you're wondering, is the Smoldering Voluminous one from L'Oreal, and as you can see, it's a very sort of short, chubby pencil, but it's got a nice point, and it'll stay that way if you keep sharpening it. And that point, I can just do this with my eyes open without having to pull my eyes up or anything like that, and that just sort of made everything just look much more complete. I'm going to do the other eye, and then I will show you both eyes together. So now that that is done, I hope that you can see how easy it is, and my biggest tip with this is not only finding a product that you feel comfortable and works with you, but also taking your time. Don't try to do one fell swoop from the inner corner and just drag it all the way out. If you have experience and you do this every day, the more you do this, the more comfortable and easier it's going to be. You may be able to get to that point where you can just lay it down and just pull it and boom, you're done. But if you're starting off or you're trying to get a very small wing, just thin hair-like strokes where you can just do little lines and then connect them together, it's going to be much easier for you. At least for me, and I've been doing makeup for many years, and I do make mistakes. I'm not perfect. It is hard for me to get both. I'm looking at them and this one just seems just a tad thicker. It's okay, you know, it's not the end of the world. I try to fix it to make it work, but I don't have all day to mess with this. So I hope that my tips help you. I hope that my recommendation of some products are useful to you. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments section, and let me know your thoughts. If you like this video, if you have any more videos that you want to see as far as how-tos of things that I do in my videos, I'll be more than happy to do that for you. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Thumbs up, like the video, and I also will put in the description box my social media, so you can follow me there. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, I have Snapchat, so if you want to kind of connect with me there, I will put all that in the description box along with the list of everything that I showed you here today. And I appreciate you being here with me for this video. I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and I'll see you in my very next video. Bye!